Amara's life changed the moment a boy slammed into her gate and screamed for help. She had barely stepped out of her living room when she heard the violent, desperate pounding. Before she could even process the sound, a teenage boy threw his entire body weight against the gate again, breath shattering, eyes wide with terror. "Please, hide me," he cried, voice cracking like something inside him was breaking apart. Amara froze. This wasn't the kind of fear you hear from someone being chased by a petty thief. This was the kind of fear that made the soul shake. Before we dive in, hit the like button and subscribe, because today's story will take you from the streets of Lagos to the heart of a Korean mafia empire. Trust me, you'll want to stay till the end. Before she could even open her mouth, a sharp screech echoed across the street. A black Korean sedan spun into view and skidded to a stop so fast that water sprayed across the pavement. 3 men stepped out immediately, no confusion, no hesitation, just deadly purpose in their eyes. They didn't look around like they were searching. They looked like they already knew where their prey had gone. The tallest one barked something in Korean, and the boy flinched so hard Amara thought he'd collapse. That was when she acted. She didn't plan it. She didn't think about consequences. She just grabbed the gate latch with shaking fingers and ripped it open. "Get inside," she whispered harshly. "Now." The boy stumbled in, falling to his knees, his fingers clawing at the wet floor. Amara slammed the gate shut, pressed her body against it, and held her breath. On the other side, a harsh beam of light swept across the metal. "Fanhara," the tall man snapped. "He came this way." The boy crouched behind Amara, trembling so violently she could feel it through the floor. Her heart hammered against her ribs. She didn't know who these men were, but she knew danger when she saw it. These weren't regular people. They moved like killers, like they were trained to follow orders without question. Inside her living room, her phone buzzed. But she couldn't move. Couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. The boy whispered, barely audible, "Please, don't let them take me, please." Amara swallowed hard and whispered back, "Stay behind me." His small nod was full of terror. Amara's hand shook as she slowly reached up and locked the gate properly. She didn't know if it would help. Those men could break it if they wanted to. But she needed that weak barrier, needed to believe something stood between the boy and the danger outside. A boot slammed into the gate. Amara jumped so hard she almost screamed. "We saw him," a second man shouted. "Open this gate." Amara squeezed her eyes shut. The boy grabbed her wrist with both hands, gripping so tightly it hurt. Don't let them in." She could feel him trembling uncontrollably. His skin was ice cold, his breath shaky, and there was blood drying on his cheek. "Who are they?" she whispered urgently. "What do they want with you?" He shook his head rapidly. "No police, no hospital, no call. Please, just hide me. They kill me if they catch me." "Why?" Amara asked, voice barely above a breath. The boy's lips trembled. "Mafia." The word hit her like a punch. "Mafia? What mafia?" He lowered his head, tears dripping onto the floor. "Korean mafia." Amara stumbled backward a step. She didn't know much about Korean culture beyond K-dramas and music, but she knew enough to understand one thing. If the Korean mafia wanted him dead, this boy wasn't some petty runaway. Another slam rattled the gate. "Open now," the tall man demanded. His tone wasn't angry, it was cold, controlled, chilling. Amara forced herself to move. She pulled the boy fully inside and locked the front door behind them. He limped toward the living room, dripping water on the tiles with every step. "Sit," she murmured shakily. He obeyed instantly, dropping onto her chair like he hadn't sat in hours. His eyes kept darting to the door, to the window, to the corners of the room, like the danger could come from anywhere. Amara grabbed a small towel and approached him slowly. "You're bleeding." He didn't look up. His hands were clenched so tightly his knuckles were white. She hesitated, then gently dabbed his cheek. He winced but didn't pull away. "What's your name?" she whispered. He opened his mouth, closed it, then whispered, Ji-Soo. His voice cracked on the second syllable, like saying his name hurt. Ji-Soo, she repeated gently. Why are they following you? He swallowed hard. I run away, I escape Korea. Come here, but they find me, they want kill me. Why? She asked again. His whole body tensed. They kill my bodyguard, want kill me too. A tear slid down his cheek. Amara stiffened. Why would anyone want to kill a child? He dug his nails into his palms. Because I not normal child. Amara's chest tightened. Then what are you? He lifted his eyes for the first time. Eyes full of fear, guilt, and a secret so heavy it seemed to crush him. My father, he whispered, is mafia boss. Her breath caught. And my uncle wants to take power, so he kill anyone close to father, even me. Before Amara could respond, another crash hit the gate. Louder this time. The metal bent inward slightly. Ji-Soo covered his ears, crying quietly. Please, don't let them take me, please. Amara grabbed his shoulders and forced him to look at her. Listen to me, she whispered fiercely. I don't know what you've done, I don't know anything about your world, but I'm not opening that gate, not even if they break it down. His breath hitched. Why you help me? Because for some reason, even in the middle of all this terror, seeing him cry hurt her. But she only said, because you're a human being, and you're scared, and no one deserves to die alone. Footsteps splashed outside. Voices murmured. Flashlights moved across her windows. Amara squeezed his hand. Come with me, we're going to hide you. Ji-Soo nodded weakly, wiping his tears frantically with the back of his sleeve. And the moment, Amara touched the doorknob to lead him deeper into the house. A shadow passed by her window. A voice called out. We know the boy is inside. Open now. And Amara felt her entire body go cold. Everything she thought she knew about her life shattered in that moment. Because by opening her gate to a terrified stranger, she had unknowingly declared war on the Korean mafia. Amara's fingers slipped off the doorknob as the voice outside echoed through the house. She stumbled backward, her breath completely knocked out of her. Ji-Soo froze in the middle of the room, eyes wide, chest rising and falling too fast. They know, he whispered. Amara, they know. She grabbed his hand again, pulling him deeper into the hallway. Come, we need to move, now. The banging on the gate grew harder, metal trembling with each blow. Amara's heart pounded so violently she could hear it in her ears. Every slam made her flinch. Ji-Soo squeezed her hand so tightly it hurt. Where you take me? Somewhere they won't check, she whispered, dragging him toward her room. Just keep quiet. Outside, one of the men barked orders in Korean. Feet splashed in all directions. They were spreading out, surrounding the area. Ji-Soo's legs buckled, and he collapsed to his knees right in the hallway. I can't breathe, Amara knelt in front of him, grabbed both sides of his face firmly, forcing him to look at her. Ji-Soo, listen to me. If you freeze now, we're both dead. His breathing cracked into small, panicked gasps. I don't want die, I do. You won't, she said fiercely. Not tonight, not with me. His eyes filled with tears again, but the panic slowed just enough for him to nod. They got back up. Amara pushed open her bedroom door and scanned the room. The gate rattled louder. Metal screeched. The lock was bending. Amara, Ji-Soo whispered, voice trembling. They break it. I know, she said, pulling open her wardrobe. Get in. Ji-Soo stared at the small space in horror. No, please, dark, I can't. You don't have a choice. She grabbed his arm and gently but urgently pushed him inside. He curled up tightly, head ducked, hands shaking violently. She stuffed clothes around him to hide his body shape, leaving a small gap so he could breathe. His eyes met hers through the gap. Please, don't leave me long, he whispered. I won't, she whispered back. The gate slammed again, so loudly the walls shook. Amara closed the wardrobe halfway, leaving it cracked just enough to keep her promise. Then she hurriedly grabbed a sweater and threw it over the gap. Her living room light flickered as she crept back out into the corridor, trying to appear calm. Because if the men got in, she had to pretend nothing was happening. She had just reached the middle of the house when the gate crashed open. The metal hit the wall with a deafening clang. Amara stiffened, her nails digging into her palms. The front door vibrated under the impact of pounding fists. "Open the door," a deep voice demanded. She forced herself to step toward it. Her legs felt like cement. Her stomach churned. Her vision blurred at the edges. She stood right behind the door. "Who is it?" she called, trying to keep her voice from shaking. Silence. Then a calm, deadly voice replied. "You know who." Every hair on Amara's arm stood up. "No one came here," she said loudly. "Leave us alone." A quiet chuckle followed, slowly, coldly, like the man was amused by her bravery. "You think I'm stupid?" he asked softly. "You think I cannot smell fear from your house?" Her breath hitched. "I will give you one chance," the man continued. "Open this door. If we enter by force, everyone inside suffers." Amara's pulse hammered in her throat. "Go away," she yelled. For a moment, there was silence. Then, "Break it." Amara gasped. The pounding began instantly, violent, vicious blows that made the hinges scream. Dust fell from the ceiling. The wood cracked in the corner. Ji-Soo whimpered from inside her room. Amara grabbed the nearest stool and shoved it under the doorknob, though she knew it wouldn't hold. Suddenly, a spotlight swept across the house from outside. Someone had climbed onto a neighboring roof and was shining a huge tactical light through every window. "Check the back," one of them shouted. "Windows," another ordered. They were everywhere. Then, a voice echoed from across the street. "Hey, who be UNA? Why UNADE break person house for morning?" Amara's eyes widened. Neighbors. People were waking up. Lights switched on in surrounding houses. Doors opened. Angry voices joined the noise. "What nonsense is this? Wet'n this one be? Yunawan kill person. Call police." The mafia men paused. Public attention was the last thing they wanted. "Fall back," the tall man muttered. Amara held her breath. "We'll return for the boy," he added. A shiver ran down her spine. She listened carefully as the footsteps moved away from the door. More voices followed, then a sharp whistle, some kind of signal. Within seconds. Silence. A car door shut. Another. Another. Tires screeched as the sedan sped away. Amara didn't move for several seconds. She stayed pressed against the door, shaking uncontrollably. Sweat dripped down her forehead. Her legs felt numb. Only when she was certain they were gone did she finally push herself away from the door and run back to her room. She yanked open the wardrobe. Ji-Soo burst out instantly, gasping for air, tears streaming down his cheeks. He stumbled forward and collapsed against her. She caught him tightly. "I thought," he sobbed. "I thought they catch me, I thought I'd die." Amara stroked the back of his head. "They didn't get you, you're safe." He shook violently. "They come back, they always come back." She swallowed. "I know." His fists clenched in her shirt, refusing to let go. "Please, don't send me away, please." "I won't," she said softly, "but we can't stay here." His grip loosened slightly, enough for him to look up at her. "Where go?" he whispered. Amara took a shaky breath. "There's someone who can help us hide." "Who?" he whispered. "My aunt," she said. "Auntie Ngozi. She lives far near the riverbank, away from the streets they're watching. But we need to move fast before they come back." Ji-Soo wiped his face with his sleeve, trembling. "We walk." "No, too slow, too dangerous." She shook her head. "We have to sneak through the backside of the neighborhood, through the gutters and the poultry fence." He swallowed hard. "Gutter again." "You want to survive?" "Yes." "Then that's the only way." A sudden knock echoed in the living room. Not loud. Not violent. A calm knock. Ji-Soo stiffened in her arms, eyes wide. Amara, he breathed. They come back. Amara's blood went cold. She stood up slowly, heart pounding, and walked to the living room. She peeked through the curtain. Her breath stopped. It wasn't the uncle. It wasn't the same men. It was a different man entirely. Older. Calmer. Dressed in a black suit. He didn't look furious. He looked patient. He looked like he owned every breath around him. He lifted his eyes straight toward her window and said, in a chilling, steady tone, "I want my son." Amara stumbled backward, so hard she hit the wall behind her. Ji-Soo's voice cracked inside the hallway. "No, not him, not him." Amara turned to him. "Ji-Soo, who is that man?" His voice trembled like a child. "My father." Ji-Soo backed away from the window as though the man outside could reach through the wall and grab him. His entire body shook, his breath trapped in his throat. He looked smaller, like the terrified child beneath the Mafia Heir. Amara rushed to him. "Your father, that man is your father." Ji-Soo nodded violently, eyes wide. "Please, Amara, please don't open. He not here to save me. He here to take me back. If he take me, I don't come back alive." She grabbed his shoulders. Calm down, Ji-Soo, look at me, look." He lifted his eyes slowly, tears pooling. "He dangerous," Ji-Soo whispered. "He not normal father, he not hug me, he not smile, he use people. He kill people. If I go, he no protect me, he give me to uncle, he want control, he want show power." His voice cracked into a sob. "He don't love me." The knock came again, slow, controlled, patient. The opposite of the men earlier. This one wasn't angry, he wasn't desperate. He was confident. A deep voice called through the door. "Little girl, I know you hear me, please open." Amara covered her mouth, trying to silence her breathing. Her parents weren't home. She was alone. And the most dangerous man in this entire situation was asking to come inside. Ji-Soo grabbed her hand with both of his, gripping so tightly it hurt. "Please, Amara, don't let him take me." "I won't," she whispered fiercely. "I promise." Another knock. This time the voice softened. "I am not here to hurt you, or anyone in the house. I only want my son." Amara's entire body tensed. He sounded calm, too calm. The kind of calm that came from someone who knew he didn't need to yell to get what he wanted. Ji-Soo buried his face in Amara's shoulder. I scared so much." Amara stroked his hair. "I know, it's okay, it's okay." But she didn't believe her own words. She tiptoed to the window and peeked out, just enough to see him more clearly. The man outside stood under the morning light with a stillness that didn't feel human. His suit was perfectly pressed, his hair slicked back. No fear, no rush, no uncertainty. Just cold confidence. A man who had seen death so many times that it no longer impressed him. His eyes lifted, straight at the window where Amara crouched, and her heart stopped. He smiled. A small, polite smile, but it made her blood freeze. He raised his voice slightly. "I only wish to talk." Ji-Soo stiffened behind her. He always lie." "What does he want with you?" she whispered. Ji-Soo's lips trembled. "If I alive, weak. If uncle alive, danger. Father want remove weak. Uncle want remove me. I middle. They both want kill me." Amara blinked, stunned. "Why, you're a child." Ji-Soo shook his head. "Not child, heir, my blood make power." Amara's throat tightened. "So your father wants power." Ji-Soo whispered. "He want control everything, even me." She exhaled shakily. "Then we can't let him in." The knock came again, still gentle. "Open the door. We will leave peacefully with the boy. No one will be harmed." Leave peacefully. The lie was so smooth Amara almost believed it. "I know he is inside," the man added, a hint of steel entering his tone. "Do not make this more difficult." Amara pressed her back against the wall. Ji-Soo tugged her sleeve, whispering urgently, "We run, please, before he break in, we run." "But if we open the door?" "No open," Ji-Soo cried, louder than he meant to. Her heart jumped. She glanced fearfully at the door. Did he hear? Silence. Amara bit her lip. "We need to get out of here, but how? He's right outside." Ji-Soo's breathing sped up again. "Window, back window." Amara shook her head. "He has men. They're watching everything. We saw them earlier." "Then gutter," Ji-Soo whispered, face pale. "We go now." A sudden voice sounded from outside. One of the men, speaking in Korean. "Boss, someone saw the boy here last night. People talk." Her blood froze. Ji-Soo grabbed her hand tightly. "We leave, now." Amara dragged him back into the bedroom. She scanned the area, trying to think fast. The gutter behind their house led to the back of the neighborhood, a narrow, hidden path behind the poultry fence. Dirty, smelly, but perfect for escaping unseen. She lifted the window latch quietly. But the moment she pushed it open, a shadow shifted outside. A man stood there. Not the father. One of his men. He turned slowly, eyes locking onto hers. Amara gasped and yanked the window shut immediately. Ji-Soo stumbled backward, terror exploding through him. They everywhere, they everywhere." "SHH," Amara hissed. "Keep your voice down." She peeked again through the tiniest slit of the curtain. The man outside didn't move. He just stared at the window, waiting. He must have been placed there deliberately. His father wasn't stupid. He knew his son would try to escape through the back. The front was blocked. The back was blocked. And the windows were watched. "We're trapped," Amara whispered. Ji-Soo shook his head violently. "No, no, no." He slid down the wall, covering his face with both hands. "Ji-Soo, stop." Amara knelt beside him. "Think, we need to keep thinking." But he was spiraling. "My father, he never stop. If he want something, he take. If he no want, he destroy. I know him, I know, I know." Amara forced him to look at her. "Listen to me. We're getting out. I won't let them take you. But you need to help me. You need to stay calm." His eyes shone with helpless fear. He nodded weakly. Then, suddenly, a soft knock tapped on her bedroom door from the hallway. Amara froze. Ji-Soo stopped breathing. The knock wasn't from outside. It was inside the house. "Amara," her mother's voice called through the crack. "Are you awake?" Amara felt her stomach drop. Her parents were home. Oh God. Oh God. Ji-Soo scrambled backward in silent panic, bumping into her wardrobe. His eyes pleaded, begging her not to open the door. Amara wiped her face quickly and forced her voice to steady. "Yes, Mommy, I'm fine." Her mother twisted the knob. Amara jumped forward and held it firmly shut. "Why is your door locked?" her mother asked. Amara's voice cracked. I'm changing." At this time of morning, her mother asked suspiciously, "Open this door." Ji-Soo pressed both hands over his mouth to muffle his breathing. Amara's heart was thundering so loudly, she worried her mother could hear it. "I'll be out in a few minutes," she insisted. "Amara, open now." Her father's voice joined. He sounded irritated. Ji-Soo shook his head violently, tears welling. Amara swallowed. "Just give me a minute, please." Her father sighed. "Your mother and I are heading out again. We'll talk later." Amara waited until their footsteps moved away, then sagged against the door, trembling with relief. Ji-Soo crawled to her, grabbing her sleeve. "Amara, front door open. They come inside because parents leave." She froze. He was right. With her parents gone, the men outside might force their way in again. And this time, there would be no neighbors watching. Ji-Soo whispered, voice cracking with fear. "We must leave, please. I not survive if he take me." Amara breathed in deeply. "Then we'll leave," she said, "but we need a distraction." Ji-Soo blinked rapidly. "What distraction?" "Something loud," she whispered. "Something that pulls their attention away." Ji-Soo stared, then suddenly looked toward the kitchen. The gas, he whispered. Amara blinked. What about it? Ji-Soo swallowed. You turn on stove, no fire, just gas smell. They smell gas, they think danger. Explosion, they run back. Amara hesitated. That's risky. It only smell, Ji-Soo said quickly. Not enough time to explode, just smell, they worry. She considered it, then nodded. It might work. She stood up, gripping his hand. Okay, stay close. They crept quietly into the kitchen. Amara twisted the stove knob just slightly, enough for gas to leak. Ji-Soo watched the window. A minute passed. Then another. Footsteps approached the house. A man sniffed the air. Another cursed in Korean. Another shouted, gas leak, move back. They stepped away from the window. Amara grabbed Ji-Soo. Now. They sprinted to the back door, unbolted it, and slipped out into the narrow gutter path behind the house. Just as the mafia leader stepped into the compound, his cold voice echoed behind them. Find them. And Amara's heartbeat nearly exploded. She pulled Ji-Soo deeper into the narrow, filthy alley. They were running again. And this time, the real hunt had begun. The gutter path behind Amara's house was narrow, filthy, and barely wide enough for a person to squeeze through. The walls on both sides were damp and moldy, the air thick with the smell of stagnant water, rotten food, and poultry waste from the nearby farm. But none of that mattered. Because behind them, the men searching were far worse. Amara gripped Ji-Soo's wrist as they crouched low, sliding behind rusted sheets of metal, broken crates, and piles of dumped bottles. Every sound felt like a scream. Every shadow felt like a threat. Stay low, she whispered urgently. They can't see us if we stay under the gutter line. Ji-Soo nodded, though his whole body trembled violently. His breath came in sharp, shallow bursts, each one fogging the tiny space between them. Amara peeked back through a crack in the fence. The mafia leader stood inside her compound now, completely still, like a statue carved from fear itself. His eyes scanned every corner, every door, every pathway with a calmness more terrifying than rage. One of his men ran up to him and spoke quickly in Korean. The leader's expression didn't change, but he lifted his head slightly. His voice, cold and steady, echoed across the neighborhood. They're close. Amara jerked back into the gutter so fast she hit her elbow on the wall. Ji-Soo caught her, but he was shaking too much for it to steady her. Come, she whispered. We need to move. They slid forward through the narrow path, stepping into puddles, ducking under torn planks of wood. The gutter led them behind Mrs. Ijoma's poultry farm. Chickens clucked loudly behind the fence as the two teenagers crawled behind the concrete water tank. A voice shouted from the compound behind them. Track footprints, check behind the houses. Amara froze. Ji-Soo moved faster. I try, he gasped. I try. She lifted him by the arm and practically dragged him forward. They reached a point where a stretch of rusty iron rods leaned against a wall. The space behind them was dark, cramped, and barely enough to hide in. Here, she whispered. Hide here. Ji-Soo huddled behind the rods, trying to make himself as small as possible. Amara squeezed in beside him, pressing her back against the wall. She placed a finger over her lips. Voices echoed from the alley. Flashlights flickered. Heavy footsteps splashed in the gutter water as three men scanned the area. Amara held her breath so tightly her lungs burned. Ji-Soo buried his face in her shoulder, trying not to make a sound. One of the men stopped directly in front of their hiding place. His boots were inches from their faces. He paused, looked around, tilted his head. Amara's heart stopped. Ji-Soo's grip on her sleeve tightened until she felt his nails. The man slowly crouched. His flashlight beam moved closer. Closer. Amara buried her face in Ji-Soo's hair, ready to scream. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed from the right. Someone had dropped a bucket. "Who's there?" the man shouted. A neighbor screamed, sorry, I know no una day for here oh." The man cursed and stood quickly. "Useless humans, move, check the next side." Their footsteps splashed away. Amara didn't breathe until she was sure they were gone. Ji-Soo exhaled shakily and whispered, "I almost die." Amara grabbed his chin gently. "We're not dying today, not today." She peeked out. No men. No flashlights. Not yet. "We need to keep moving, quietly." Ji-Soo nodded, wiping his tears with his sleeve. "Okay." They slipped out from the hiding place. The narrow gutter path stretched on ahead, leading to the small metal door that opened behind Auntie Ngozie's neighborhood area. But something was wrong. The metal door was slightly open, and a man's shadow leaned against the wall beside it. Amara froze, pulling Ji-Soo back instinctively. A deep voice said, "You think you can run from your blood, boy?" Ji-Soo gasped, covering his mouth. The shadow shifted. It was one of the father's men, waiting, guarding, predicting their path. Ji-Soo whispered, they know. Amara's mind raced. There were only two ways out of the gutter path. Forward, or back toward her house. Both were blocked. She closed her eyes, thinking fast. Then she saw it. A broken section of the poultry fence to their right, rusted, bent, with a hole just big enough for a thin person. She grabbed Ji-Soo's wrist. "Here, quickly." They crouched and squeezed through the hole. The sharp metal scraped Amara's arm, drawing blood, but she bit down a cry. Ji-Soo winced as the metal tore his shirt and scratched his back, but he kept moving. They slipped inside the poultry yard. The chickens squawked loudly, scattering as Amara dragged Ji-Soo behind the feed shed. The scent of animal droppings stung her nose, but she ignored it. The guard at the metal door turned sharply. "What was that?" Another voice replied from the alley, "Chickens, move." Amara peeked from behind the shed. The guard paced slowly, scanning the yard but not entering. "We need to cross the yard," she whispered. "We can reach the riverbank road from the other side." Ji-Soo nodded, though he looked exhausted and pale. "Okay, but I dizzy." She held his face gently. "Stay with me, just a little bit more, you can do this." He nodded weakly. Amara counted under her breath. 1, 2, 3. She pulled him out from behind the shed, and they dashed across the open yard toward the far fence. Chickens flapped wildly, noise filling the entire space. They reached the fence, and Amara pushed aside a loose plank. "Go," she whispered. Ji-Soo squeezed through first. Amara followed. But the plank creaked loudly. The guard spun around. "Hey." Ji-Soo panicked. "Amara, run." The man sprinted toward them. Amara shoved Ji-Soo fully through the fence opening. "Gio, run." The man grabbed her shoulder from behind, but she twisted free and kicked the plank hard to close the gap. The plank slammed back in place. "Amara," Ji-Soo cried from the other side. "Amara." "Run," she yelled. "I'm right behind you." She shoved her way through the space and stumbled out onto the dirt path beside the riverbank. Ji-Soo grabbed her immediately, pulling her forward as they sprinted down the path. Behind them, the guard kicked the plank repeatedly. Voices erupted. "They're heading to the river. Find them." Amara pulled Ji-Soo behind a row of old canoes lying upside down along the river edge. They crouched behind the largest one, panting. Ji-Soo clutched his side. "Amara, I can't run much more." "We're close," she whispered. "We're so close." Footsteps approached the riverbank. Voices spread through the trees. Flashlights flickered across the path. Amara took Ji-Soo's face in both hands. "Listen to me," she whispered urgently. "Auntie Ngozie's house is just behind those trees. Once we reach her, we hide until nightfall." Ji-Soo nodded weakly, eyes full of fear and trust. He whispered, "You promise you not leave me, right?" Amara squeezed his hand tightly. I'm not leaving you. Not now, not ever. And just as she pulled him up to run again, a calm voice echoed from the tree line, closer than before. You can hide for now, but you will come to me, son. Ji-Soo froze. It was his father. He was near. Very near. Amara's pulse spiked. She grabbed Ji-Soo's hand. Run. And together, they sprinted. Toward Auntie Ngozie's hidden house, as the Korean mafia closed in around them. Amara yanked Ji-Soo forward, their feet splashing through the muddy riverbank as they sprinted toward the small cluster of trees that hid Auntie Ngozie's compound. Each step felt heavier than the last. Ji-Soo stumbled twice, nearly falling, but Amara kept pulling him up, refusing to let him stop. Behind them, the mafia spread out in a sweeping formation, flashlights cutting through the tall grass, boots pounding on wet soil, the sharp clicks of guns being readied slicing the air. The riverbank echoed with commands in Korean. Find them. They ran this way. Check the trees. Ji-Soo whimpered, clutching his side. Amara, I can't breathe. You can, she whispered through her own ragged breaths. You don't have a choice. His knees buckled mid-step, and she grabbed him, dragging his arm over her shoulder. You're almost there, she urged. Just keep moving. The underbrush cracked behind them. Someone had spotted movement. There, a voice shouted, behind the trees. Ji-Soo flinched so hard he cried out. His legs shook, his breath hitched, and Amara felt him slipping. No, stay up, she whispered desperately. Stay with me. He nodded weakly, tears streaking his dirty cheeks. They reached the first tree and squeezed behind its broad trunk, hidden from direct view. Amara pressed her back against the bark, pulling Ji-Soo close so their bodies were covered by shadows. Ji-Soo's breath trembled against her ear. Amara, if they catch me, you run. Please, don't die for me. She tightened her grip on him. I'm not leaving you. Stop saying that. He sniffed hard, nodding silently, though fear still shook every part of him. The crunch of footsteps grew closer. Amara peeked through the leaves. 3 men were heading their way, guns drawn, scanning the trees with slow, methodical sweeps. Their flashlights briefly lit the patches of grass around Amara's hiding spot. She ducked her head immediately and held Ji-Soo tighter. He covered his mouth with both hands to silence his breathing. His body trembled against hers. The men stopped just meters away. One of them lifted his flashlight and shined it directly at the tree next to them. Amara clenched her jaw. The man stepped closer. Closer. He stopped in front of the exact tree they hid behind. Amara's heart nearly exploded. Ji-Soo bit down on his wrist to keep from whimpering. The man leaned in, peering behind the tree, only to suddenly jerk backward as another man shouted from the riverbank. Tracks leading toward the upper path. Move. The guard cursed under his breath and sprinted off with the others. Amara sagged against the tree, her knees weak. Ji-Soo broke into silent sobs, his tears dropping onto her shoulder. Why this not stop? SHH, we're not done, she whispered. We need to get to my aunt's house now. She pulled him along again, slipping deeper into the trees. The path grew narrower, surrounded by thick bushes and tall grass that brushed against their legs. Ji-Soo stumbled again, but Amara kept holding him upright. Their breaths fogged in the cool air, their steps uneven, their clothes soaked from mud and rain. But finally, after minutes that felt like hours, a small building came into view. Auntie Ngozie's house. A modest bungalow with faded yellow paint, half hidden behind a cluster of mango trees. Smoke rose from the backyard, drifting lazily through the air. Ji-Soo's knees buckled with relief. Please, I need rest. You can rest once we're inside, Amara whispered. Just a few more steps. She guided him up the narrow path toward the back door, but just as she reached for the handle, a voice spoke behind them. Amara. She gasped and spun around. Auntie Ngozi stood there, holding a basket of cassava. Her eyes widened the moment she saw Ji-Soo, bleeding, shaking, filthy, terrified, clinging to Amara like a dying child. "Chink," Auntie Ngozi whispered. "Amara, what is this?" Amara didn't waste time. "Auntie, please, let us inside. Please, I'll explain later." Auntie Ngozi didn't ask another question. She stepped aside and ushered them in, shutting the door quietly behind them. Inside the house, the air was warm, safe, familiar. But Ji-Soo didn't feel safe. Not even for a moment. He collapsed onto the nearest chair, curling in on himself, hands shaking uncontrollably. Auntie Ngozi grabbed a cloth and ran to him, wiping his face gently. "My dear, who is chasing you like this?" she cried softly. "What happened to you?" Before Amara could answer, a car engine roared outside. Amara rushed to the window. A black SUV rolled slowly into the trees. Her heart dropped. "They found us," she whispered. Auntie Ngozi stiffened. "Found who?" Amara turned to her. "Auntie, we don't have time. He's the son of a Korean mafia boss. Men want to kill him. They've been chasing us since last night." Auntie Ngozi stared at Amara like she couldn't believe a word she'd heard. But when she looked back at Ji-Soo, his trembling hands, his bloody cheek, his terrified eyes, she believed instantly. "Inside the pantry," she said quickly. "Now." She grabbed Ji-Soo under one arm, Amara grabbed the other, and together they helped him into a small storage room filled with baskets and grain bags. He curled behind a stack, pulling his knees up. Amara crouched beside him, brushing his hair from his forehead. "Stay quiet," she whispered. "No matter what you hear, don't make a sound." He nodded shakily, his breath trembling. A knock came at the front door. This was not a calm knock. This one was firm, controlled, deadly. Auntie Ngozi covered her mouth in fear. "Make sure he doesn't speak," she whispered to Amara. "Let me handle them." Amara squeezed Ji-Soo's hand, whispering, "I'm right here." Then she stepped out of the pantry and closed the door gently behind her. The knock came again, harder this time. "Who is there?" Auntie Ngozi called out. A cold voice replied from outside. "We're looking for someone." Auntie Ngozi swallowed. "No one here, sir." "Let us in." "No," she answered firmly. "You have no right." The man outside chuckled. And Amara recognized that chuckle. Her blood froze. Ji-Soo's father. He spoke again, louder. "I won't ask again." Auntie Ngozi held her ground. "Go away." "Open the door," he said softly, "or my men will open it for you." Amara clenched her fists. Inside the pantry, Ji-Soo trembled uncontrollably, silently crying. A boot struck the door. Amara grabbed a kitchen knife off the counter, her hand shaking. Another kick shook the entire frame. Ji-Soo's father spoke calmly. "Don't make this worse for yourselves. I only want my son." Amara stepped in front of the pantry door, knife held tightly, her breath sharp. Ji-Soo's muffled voice whispered from inside. "Amara, don't let him take me, please." She pressed her forehead against the pantry door, whispering back, "I won't." Another kick, the wood cracked. Auntie Ngozi gasped, backing away. Ji-Soo's father spoke one final time before the next blow. "My son belongs to me. Open the door or I take him by force." Amara raised the knife. Her heart thundered. Her hands shook. But she stood her ground. Because between Ji-Soo and his father, she was the only wall left. The wooden door shuddered again under another brutal kick. Amara felt the force vibrate through the floorboards. The knife in her hand trembled, the metal glinting faintly under the kitchen light. Auntie Ngozi whispered shakily, "Amara, we can't let him in, we can't." "I'm not letting him," Amara murmured, her voice trembling but fierce. Ji-Soo's muffled crying seeped through the pantry door behind her, soft whimpers that tore into her chest. He whispered her name over and over, like a prayer, like he was trying to anchor himself to the only safe thing he had left. "Amara." Another kick splintered the top of the wooden frame. Her grip tightened. She planted her feet, shoulders squared, knife raised. "Open it," one of the men barked. Ji-Soo's father spoke again, still calm, still terrifying. "I am asking politely for the last time." Amara shouted back before she could stop herself. "Go away. He doesn't want to go with you." Silence. A deep, dangerous silence. Then his voice, softer but more lethal. "You think this is about what he wants." Amara swallowed hard. He stepped closer to the door. She could hear the slow approach of his shoes, like a predator savoring the moment. "It is not your decision," he said. "He is my blood." "He's not property," Amara shouted, voice cracking. "He's scared. He'll die if he goes with you." "He will die if he stays with you," the man replied. Another kick. This time the hinges screamed. Dust shook from the ceiling. Auntie Ngozi grabbed Amara's arm. "We need to go out the back. Now. He'll break through in seconds." Amara shook her head. "Ji-Soo can't run anymore. If we go out the back, they'll catch us. They're all around the house." Auntie Ngozi looked helpless. "Then what do we do, my daughter?" Amara wiped sweat from her forehead, thinking fast, her heart hammering. "We buy time." "How?" Amara's eyes scanned the room, her mind firing through possibilities, none of them good. Then she saw it. Auntie Ngozi's old kerosene lamp. The room was small, the house even smaller. Fire wouldn't give them an escape. But smoke might. "Auntie," she whispered, grabbing the lamp, "do you have matches?" Auntie Ngozi's eyes widened. "Amara, no." "Trust me." Her aunt fumbled through a drawer, shaking. Here, take." Amara struck the match with trembling hands. The flame flickered. She wasn't going to burn the house. That would kill them all. But the shed outside, the small storage shed connected to the window by a thin curtain, that was perfect. She pushed open the small window in the back kitchen and threw the lit lamp into the straw-filled shed. It didn't erupt into flames, but smoke started rising quickly. Within seconds, a thick gray plume poured upward. Auntie Ngozi gasped, "Amara." "They'll think the fire is coming from inside," Amara said. "They'll panic, they'll back up." Ji-Soo's father spoke again, colder than the smoke drifting under the door. "Are you trying to force my hand, girl?" A man outside sniffed loudly. "Boss, there is smoke." "What kind of smoke?" Ji-Soo's father asked. "Thick, sir, coming from the back of the house." A beat. Then, "Step away from the door," he commanded. Amara pressed closer to the pantry door, shielding Ji-Soo inside. "No," she whispered. "No, you're not taking him." More footsteps gathered outside. Panic erupted in Korean. She set something on fire. "Sir, this place will burn." "There are fuel containers." Ji-Soo's father said nothing for a long moment. Then, "Fall back, we regroup outside." Footsteps retreated. Amara sagged against the wall in relief, her knees giving out. Auntie Ngozi steadied her quickly. "Yeah, my daughter, are you mad? You want to kill us." "It's smoke," Amara whispered. "Not flames. The shed will burn slowly, we have a few minutes." She rushed back to the pantry and flung the door open. Ji-Soo burst out, eyes wild, face stained with tears and dust. He grabbed her shoulders, clutching her like she was the only thing keeping him alive. I hear them shouting," he whimpered. "Amara, I was scared, I was so scared." "I know," she whispered, pulling him into her arms. "But we're not done, we have to move." Auntie Ngozi stared at them both, chest rising heavily. "Where will you go? You can stay here, but they will come back. Those men, thank God, they are not ordinary people." "They're mafia," Amara said. "They won't stop." Ji-Soo whispered shakily. "He not done. My father, he not done." "He never is," Amara replied. "Then what do we do?" Auntie Ngozi asked, clutching her wrapper. Ji-Soo looked up, eyes desperate. "We go far, not this place, not this city. They find me anywhere near here." Amara bit her lip, thinking. There was only one person left she trusted. Someone far away from the neighborhood. Someone who owed her mother a favor that could never be repaid. "My cousin Kelechi," she said softly. "He drives a trailer. He leaves tonight for the border. If we get to him, he can hide us in the cargo." Auntie Ngozi gasped. "Border? Amara, this is too dangerous." Ji-Soo grabbed her hand tightly. "We go, please, before father return." Amara nodded slowly. "We'll move when the smoke is thick enough to cover our exit." A loud crack echoed from outside. The shed was burning properly now. Flames flickered under the window. Auntie Ngozi pulled the curtains closed. "Hurry then, before the whole place catch fire." Amara grabbed a small bag and stuffed in whatever food and water she could find. Ji-Soo tried to stand but stumbled. She immediately caught him. "Are you okay?" she whispered. He nodded weakly, just tired, scared. She pressed his head gently to her chest for a moment. "I know. Stay with me. Just stay with me." He closed his eyes and whispered, "I trust you, Amara." Her heart ached. Then she heard voices outside again, closer. "They're still here. Find another way in. The fire is small. Surround the house." Ji-Soo's father spoke sharply. "Search every side." Amara's breath hitched. "They're coming back," she whispered. Smoke filled the kitchen, curling up toward the ceiling. She grabbed Ji-Soo's wrist. "Now," she said, "we leave now." Auntie Ngozi opened the back door slightly, thick smoke pouring out into the trees. "Go," she urged. "I will cover the doorway." Ji-Soo stumbled out first, then Amara. They disappeared into the smoke and trees just as the Mafia circled back. The world blurred. The air tasted like fire. Ji-Soo clung to Amara with every step. She held him tighter. Their lives depended on every moment. They ran deeper into the forest, toward the main road, where Kelechi passed every evening. And behind them, through the smoke, a final voice echoed. "Find them before nightfall, alive." Ji-Soo's father was hunting again. And this time, he would not stop until he held his son. The smoke thinned as Amara and Ji-Soo ran deeper into the trees, branches scraping their arms and twigs snapping beneath their feet. Ji-Soo stumbled again, barely catching himself. His breath came in shallow, painful bursts. "Amara, slow please," he whispered. She tightened her grip on his wrist and pulled him behind a thick palm tree. "Just a minute. Catch your breath." He bent forward, hands on his knees, trembling as he inhaled. His hair clung to his forehead, his shirt ripped in several places, mud streaking his arms. But it was his eyes, wide, terrified, that made Amara's chest twist. "We're almost at the road," she whispered. "Once we see Kelechi's truck, we're safe." Ji-Soo shook his head weakly. "Never safe, not from him." "Yes, we can be," she insisted. "Just trust me." He looked at her then, really looked, like she was the last piece of hope he had in the entire world. "I trust you," he whispered. "Only you." Before she could say anything, movement rustled behind them. Voices drifted through the trees. "Spread out. They're heading toward the road. Don't lose them." Ji-Soo flinched violently. Amara grabbed his face between both hands to focus him. "Listen to me. When we run, you don't look back. You don't stop. You stay right behind me." He nodded shakily. Footsteps pounded closer. "Run," she whispered. They broke into another sprint, branches whipping their arms as they darted between the trees. The forest thinned, revealing a stretch of dirt leading toward the highway where large trailers rumbled daily. Amara's lungs burned, her legs aching, but she kept pulling Ji-Soo forward. She spotted the silhouette of a large truck in the distance. "Kelechi," she gasped. Ji-Soo's knees nearly buckled in relief. "Please, please." "Come, Owen," she urged. Behind them, the Mafia crashed through the trees. "There. Don't let them reach the road. Move." Amara's heart nearly split in half from fear. She dragged Ji-Soo with every ounce of strength she had left. His steps faltered, his breath shallow, but he held on. They stumbled out of the tree line onto the dirt road. The truck engine was running. The back lights blinked. Kelechi was tightening a rope onto a tarp-covered cargo load. "Kelechi," Amara gasped. He turned and his eyes widened. "Amara, what are you? No, who's that boy? You're bleeding. Heaven and earth, what happened?" "No time," Amara cried. "We need to hide now." Footsteps thundered behind them. Ji-Soo looked back and froze. His father emerged from the trees. Not running. Just walking. Like he knew they couldn't escape. Ji-Soo's breath shattered. "Amara, he here. Amara spun to Kelechi, gripping his shirt. "Please, hide us in the cargo. Please, I'm begging you." Kelechi hesitated, fear flickering in his eyes. He could see the danger. He could see the men approaching. He could see the boy's terror. And he could see something else too. The desperation in Amara's face. He dropped the rope. "Inside, quick." He yanked the tarp up, revealing crates of grain. Ji-Soo crawled in first, wincing as his knees hit the floor. Amara climbed in after him, and Kelechi lowered the tarp just as the first of the Mafia men burst out of the forest. "Get down," she whispered to Ji-Soo. He pressed himself flat against the crates, trembling. Kelechi stepped away from the truck as the men approached. He forced a nervous smile. "Evening, sirs." "Have you seen two teenagers?" one barked. "A Nigerian girl and a Korean boy." Kelechi swallowed. "Teens? No one passed here." Another man circled the truck, eyeing the cargo suspiciously. "Open it." Kelechi's voice cracked. "Sir, why? This is scheduled cargo." "Open it." Amara covered Ji-Soo's mouth as his breath quickened. Kelechi froze, his hands shook. He reached for the tarp. But Ji-Soo's father's voice cut through the chaos. "Stop." Everyone turned. Ji-Soo's father stepped forward, eyes locked on the truck. Calm, cold, certain. He raised a hand. The men stopped instantly. He walked slowly around the truck, fingers gliding lightly over the metal as if reading it like a book. Amara held her breath. Ji-Soo's tears slipped silently down his cheeks. He clutched Amara's hand like a lifeline. Then, Ji-Soo's father stopped at the back of the truck. Right above them. His hand pressed against the tarp. The thin barrier shook under his palm. His fingers traced the fabric slowly, thoughtfully. Amara's heart lodged in her throat. Ji-Soo's entire body tensed in terror. The man whispered something softly in Korean, words Amara didn't understand, but the tone was chilling. Ji-Soo's eyes widened. "What did he say?" she whispered. Ji-Soo shook his head, tears falling. "He say, 'Don't hide from me, son. I can still feel your fear.'" Amara squeezed his hand desperately. Ji-Soo's father stood there for several long seconds. Then he stepped back. "Leave the truck," he said quietly. "They're not here." Amara's chest nearly collapsed with relief. The men dispersed. Ji-Soo's father turned once more, eyes scanning the tree line, then walked away, his coat drifting behind him like a shadow. The moment the footsteps faded, Kelechi lifted the tarp. "Move," he whispered urgently. "We're leaving now." Amara helped Ji-Soo out. His legs gave out, and she caught him before he hit the ground. "You'll be safe with me," Kelechi said, "but we need to leave this place before they return." Ji-Soo clung to Amara weakly. Thank you." She wiped his tears gently. "We're okay, you did it, you're safe." But in the distance, behind the trees, a single figure stood watching them leave. Ji-Soo's father. He didn't chase. He didn't shout. He didn't move. He simply watched. And smiled. A cold smile. The kind that promised this was far from over. The hunt would continue. The war had only just begun. Who was watching Amara from that car? Why did Ji-Soo's father smile like that? Drop your theories below and subscribe now so you don't miss part 2. Because the next chapter will reveal the secret that changes everything.